I like winning. Whether it's in real life or in TFT, winning is fun. But I feel like you guys think a little differently than I do, because when I watch you play the game, it feels like you're doing everything in your power to throw it.
What the happened? I had a Ronaldo!
That stops now. In this video, I'll be teaching you how to close out your games in 3 easy steps, and by the end of it, your win rate will go from looking like this to this. Before we dive into the guide, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I like seeing the number go up, and let's get into it. There are some games where you simply cannot play for first. If there's someone in your lobby with a 300 plus Cypher cash out, you can't go first. If you load into Garen and somebody high rolls their circlet, well, you can't go first. And if somebody in your lobby is just high rolling their ass off, you can't go first. And honestly, that's fine. Sometimes you high roll, sometimes your opponents are gonna high roll. That's just TFT. The important thing is recognizing when you can win out and when you can't, because nothing feels worse than cashing out a 400 charge just to get ran over by some trains on stage 5. So what are some common play for top 4 spots? I talked about a few of them before, but when you scout, you should be on the lookout for early Cypher and prismatic trait potential. And when you look at your own board, think about if you're playing a lose-out comp with no enablers like 4-4 or Zeri, or you're just low HP. If you find yourself in one of those spots, I would recommend just giving up on any win-out potential, roll aggressively on stage 4 to upgrade your board, save as many lives as you can, because if you lose one of those lives on stage 4, that just means you're one step closer to going 8th when you fight the high roller. If it wasn't obvious from the last section, you must high roll to win a game. 90% of games in Challenger are won by a Cypher player, and there's no amount of skill in the world that's going to summon a Draven or Galio on 2-1. I'm not sure if Cypher is actually winning every game in lower elos considering the number of complaints I get, but if it's not Cypher, it's probably just some dude naturaling all his units. So the second step is pretty simple. Recognize spots when you're able to win the game and play for the win. As I said before, there are some spots that are very easily recognizable as win-out spots if you have Cypher or a prismatic trait. But there are also a lot of more, niche spots that you might not know. So let's go over some of them. Vanguard Marksman is a comp that has a very hard time winning games. The moment you commit to 4-4, you recognize that you're playing for a second at best unless you hit a 3-star 4 cost or you hit one of the Giga augments. Dumbify or Galimify. Obviously, these augments can enable the win-out comps to win even harder, but they also allow, weaker comps like 4-4 and even Zeri Misfortune to win games. Some other common win-out spots are Trade Tracker, 6 Rapid Fire Crocodile, a bunch of Ornn artifact carries, and if you're in a lobby where nobody is high rolling, just having 70 plus HP at the start of stage 5 can enable your win. All these win conditions I've talked about are going to be patch dependent, but these win cons have been super consistent at least so far, so I think it's going to be correct for at least a little while longer. So how do you play for the win? You need to be greedy. If you end the game on level 8, your win percentage is very, very low. The only comps I can even think of that are going to win on level 8 are Twisted Fate if you're high rolling out of your mind, and maybe the dog with the Samira. If you're playing a level 8 comp, even with Galimify, you're going to find it very difficult to win games. So what does that mean? You need to save as much money as you can in order to push your levels and upgrade your board on level 9 and maybe even level 10. Greeding primarily starts on stage 4 and you're allowed to greed in 2 spots. The first is Fast 9. This is pretty self-explanatory. You're high HP at the start of stage 4, you sack all of your stage 4, you go 9, you do your roll down, and you win the game. If you're going fast 9, you need to keep these 2 things in mind. The first is that you need to be playing a win-out comp. Nobody's going fast 9 to play, Zeri Misfortune or 4-4 because those comps, even at 9, are still going to lose to the strongest comps in the game. Right now, I can think of 3 comps that are able to win the game: Urgot Bruisers, 7 Street Demon, and Vexotech. The second thing is that the comp you're playing is not more than 2-way contested. If you sack all of stage 4 while your 2 contesters are rolling to 0 every single turn for the 4 cost, by the time you make it to 9, none of your units are going to be in the pool. You're going 9 to play all 1 stars and you're just going to lose out. That explains fast 9. The second spot where you're allowed to greed is if you're high HP and you want to go 9, but you also want to roll because you're contested. In cases like that, I would roll for 1 or 2 of my primary upgrades and then econ back to 9, go 9 on 5-2, and then roll about 30 gold for 5 costs. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there's actually a third way of greeding, but it's not really greeding. It's when you sack the entirety of stage 2 and 3 to play Cypher, and you don't have upgrades, but all the resources that Cypher gave you, like the extra TGs or the items, are going to make your board so strong that even without upgrades, you can still go fast 9 and then cap out your board then. Be warned that if you're sitting on a board with all 1 stars, even with your extra resources, if you fight a high roller, you're going to lose. So definitely scout every turn to see if you need to roll, and if a high roller is in your pool, then you should just roll and preserve your HP. So how do you actually cap out your board? every comp has a different win condition, but the simple answer is to just play the 5 costs. Now this isn't always true. Right now, you'd rather play a Zyra 1 for 7 Street Demon over a Viego 2, but the Street Demon board still caps out with 5 costs. And the 5 costs this set cap out super high. Zac infinitely scales, and if you get 35 or more blobs on him, you instantly win the game. Garen with 3 or 4 mods is also an insta-win, and Urgot can farm you so many items that you just outstat all your opponents. To make it more concrete, let's go over a few examples that'll hopefully build some intuition for you. This is the standard board for Vexotech on level 8, and on 9, the most common unit we're playing is an Aurora, pulling in either a Zac, Urgot, or a Kabuko. If you play this board from a Cypher cash out, it's honestly strong enough to win most lobbies, but if you're playing in Scuttle Puddle or another high resource galaxy, or if you just don't have Cypher, this board will get outcapped. And the reason is unit quality. To play 5 Exotech, we're forced to play a Jax and a Jhin, 2 units that are pretty much useless. If we drop the Jax and the Jhin, we're able to fit 2 extra 5 costs on our board. Renekton, you can put the Zac on board, which is a lot stronger than Zac on bench, or you can play an Urgot that's going to farm you items. These units are able to scale us into the late game, and if we look at the stats, we can see that while 5 Exotech has a higher average placement than 3, the win rate is lower. For Goldenox, you fit in Zac and Garen to cap your board. Now, this might be obvious because those are the 2 highest cap units in the game, but they synergize really well with Goldenox because you're rolling every turn to proc the Goldenox buff, so you get more stacks for Zac, and the additional gold you farm every turn allows you to roll even more, and it just snowballs, and eventually you're playing in sandbox mode. And Garen's great because the Gox mod just gives a unit 70% or more damage amp, which is probably the most insane mod in the entire game. So for reroll, the only advice I would give to cap out your comp is, play the most broken reroll comps in the game, and if you hit, you can win. Otherwise, you're probably just gonna get a humble top 4. And that's my guide on how to cap out your board and play for a first. If you liked it, like, comment, and subscribe, please. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time.